height that it has coming out of a corner. Hello, people watching car reviews on the internet. Welcome to this, the 2023 Toyota Corolla GR4 Morizo edition. This is one of 200 limited production versions of the all-new Rally Hot Hatch from Toyota. And today I'm gonna get this thing up on the lift. We're gonna nerd out in the tech specs, see how it is constructed, and then go give it some beans. This thing is so sick. First things first, the Corolla GR4 has triple tips, just like the Civic Type R. However, unlike the Civic, this is a little bit more symbolic. It's kind of foreshadowing, I guess you could say, but we'll get to that later. But the center tip you see here has an actuator that opens it only at idle, below 20 miles per hour, or above 4,500 RPM. Just like all other Toyotas, the entire system is made out of stainless steel, and pre-muffler piping measures in at 65 millimeter outside diameter. The GR4 Morizo edition has a Torsen limited slip differential, as does the Circuit edition. However, on the Morizo, you have a 3.578 final drive ratio, whereas the Circuit and the Core with Performance Pack editions have a 3.4. Lots of cooling fins to extract heat out of it, and it has a sort of aluminum cradle which holds it onto the rear subframes. Kind of neat. It's all steel in construction except for the anti-sway bar end link, which is a very thick aluminum one. The GR4 utilizes a double wishbone multi-link rear suspension. It's paired with a set of fixed rate monotube KYB red body dampers, as well as you have some unique springs for the Morizo edition. Rear anti-sway bar measures in at approximately 24 millimeters in diameter. While the GR4 is based on an E210 chassis Toyota Corolla, it has a significant amount of improvements to separate it from that base model car, including 349 additional spot welds all throughout the chassis, with additional seam sealer to stiffen things up. And this Morizo edition even tops that with some additional bracing underneath the car. And out of the three trims, the Morizo is the lightest at 3,186 pounds. You see the drive shaft is just up above the exhaust system right there and those heat shields. I'd be curious to know how much of this underbody was changed to accommodate the additional drive shaft for the GR4. Above my head, there is only one transmission available with the GR4 Corolla. However, the Morizo edition has a different transmission than the Core and the Circuit editions. This is the Aisin EA68F. The Core and the Circuit has the 68E. Biggest difference is first, third, and reverse have revised gear ratios for the Morizo. All the transmissions have triple cone synchros on first through third, double on fourth, and single on fifth, sixth, and reverse. Being that this is a transversely mounted all-wheel drive configuration, that's actually not that terrible. You can see the turbo right there, the downpipes on the left of the drive shaft, and right up here is a steering rack. It's actually not that bad to access stuff up here. You also get a Torsen limited slip differential up front, and the GR4's all-wheel drive system has a center diff controller that you can vary the torque split from 50-50 to 60-40 or 30-70. Ooh, there's so many different holes for me to shove my finger in. Never mind. Up front, you have a McPherson strut style suspension, all which is comprised out of steel other than your inner and outer tie rod, which is aluminum, and of course those red body KYB monotube dampers with Morizo specific spring rates. Womb. What's a womb? Womb. Anyway, front anti-sway bar measures in at approximately 26.5-ish millimeter. What in the ferret murderer happened underneath here? Somebody hit something. It was fur. That's neat. There's a little cooling vent right here under the engine and the hairy cardboard. That's pretty thick under the front bumper. I love that the intercooler says GR4 painted on it. All right, time for the braking test. No one behind me except for all my camera gear. Ready? Whoa! Holy fuck! Whoa, that has to be one of the best braking tests I've done yet. Wow. The distance, the stopping distance was short. Props to the tires. The tires are doing all the work really, but that was better than the Type R. And I know on paper it shouldn't be that way, but that was probably the shortest stopping distance I've done yet. That braking was just made possible thanks to a set of 14-inch or 355mm two-piece front rotors with a set of 4-piston monoblock calipers. Some fairly aggressive pads as well, because these brakes get filthy after a couple miles. Through the front grille next to the fog light, you can see the brake cooling duct. The wheels, unique to the Morizo edition, they're an 18 by 8.5 with a positive 30mm offset, forged monoblock BBS. I love that it has Toyota Gazoo Racing spelt out and embossed into the wheel, and it's painted too. It'd be kind of hard to keep that clean though, because I think it's white. Yeah, it is. The hell? This is like a Bluetooth tire? Yeah, you're definitely functional. You go somewhere. And they're wrapped in a set of 245/40 18-inch Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. High five, bud. Out back, things get a little bit smaller, but they are still substantial with an 11.7-inch or 297mm slotted rotor, single piece though. The caliper, it is a 2-piston monoblock, and the wheel and tire, square stance, same size as you get up front. In the name of science, I am now going to give this thing the beans. Bolstering assessment. Excellent. Perfect bolstering. They don't offer any form of heatilation or ventilation, but they don't need to. That just doesn't make sense in a vehicle like this. I wouldn't want any of that. It does have Alcantara suede over all the surfaces, as well as the steering wheel is covered in Alcantara suede. The little red strip in the middle so you can find center. It has a GR logo at the bottom. It's not flat bottom though. The door cards have Alcantara suede on them as well. And the e-brake and the shift knob and shift boot. And it's a rip-it style, no stupid electronic one. Normally there would be the Morizo specific shift knob in here, but because this is a press car, sometimes they don't have all the options it's supposed to. As far as drive modes go, I have a little flappy toggle up here above the shifter that you can go from eco to normal to sport and to custom, which you can configure yourself. I also have a knob below the shifter for the center diff controller. Push the center for track, or I can turn it for 60/40 or 30/70. It's not always that set in stone when you have it set in each one of those modes, but it will vary depending on how robots see fit. Then I can also press the traction control button once. It'll put it into expert mode, or I can hold it down and you can turn everything off without expert. I'm going to leave mine in expert mode as well as the diff in track. And let's see what this thing can do. Give it a little assistance and let it eat. Ready? Perfect. This thing is so good. That's quick. Oh man, I want this car so bad. Hood pop. Love these hood vents. Those big bulges. I'm not even gonna go there. Wow. Yeah, that's light. Well, that big bulge in the hood's functional, that's for sure. There's all kinds of plastic quacks up here. Underneath the 2023 Corolla GR4's hood is the G16E GTS, which is an all aluminum, dual overhead cam, 12 valve, 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder that produces a whopping 300 horsepower at 6,500 RPM and 295 pound-feet of torque from 3,250 RPM to 4,600 RPM. It's slightly torquier than the Core and the Circuit editions because of an additional pound of boost. Those other two models make 273 pound-feet of torque. This little 1,618cc, 240 pound 3-cylinder is the highest horsepower production 3-cylinder in the world. Did I do it right? It's just, it doesn't have the same effect as when Jeremy Clarkson does it. I tried. See if I can take off this engine cover. Oh, that comes off real easy. Oh, cute! Look how tiny it is. For comparison, that's an airbox. That's so crazy. And what kind of zinc finish is this? It's like a satin blue-purple color. Digging in a little bit deeper on this absolutely batshit crazy 3-cylinder, it is an open deck block with cast iron cylinder liners, as a forged steel crank, forged connecting rods, and aluminum pistons with multiple oil squirters for cooling on those pistons as well. It has a 87.5 by 89.7 millimeter bore and stroke with a 10.5:1 compression ratio. Moving up into the head, it has variable valve timing, intelligent on both intake and exhaust, as well as it employs Toyota's D4S port and direct fuel injection system to keep the back of the valves clean. As far as the little turbo goes, which is mainly accessible from down below, it is a single scroll ball bearing unit that runs at a peak just over 26 psi, which is 1 pound of boost extra from the other models like I mentioned. ECU is tucked right underneath the wiper cowl, where the brake reservoir cap would be really fun to try to fill. Oh, this is removable. That's smart. Attention businessmen, do not use this fan to dry your hands. No way. Are they still utilize? That's crazy. It looks just like the little thing for the TVIS system on the SW20 MR2 for the 3S GTE. Like, almost identical. What I found most interesting about this little engine though is the fact that Toyota has a variant of it that runs on pure hydrogen and produces 0 emissions, which is great because it's still an internal combustion engine that makes good noises and is fun to drive, but it's clean. Back on you go. Oh neat, that's for channeling air to cool the turbo down there. Time to go have some fun. Go. I love how close ratio first through third is in this thing. I don't know what the other two models of the GR4 are like with their gear ratios, but this is perfect. It's just so close and engaging and fun. It actually feels like you're driving something that's designed for rally. The pedal placement in here is absolutely perfect for doing heel toe driving, even though you can turn on a button and have robots do it for you. These fixed rate KYB dampers are on point. Like, I am so satisfied with these, and I actually like this better than I did the adaptive suspension that was in the Type R. I currently have the diff controller set at 30% front, 70% rear. If I was on a track, I could show you, but you can get the ass end of this car out. It is super playful. You just kind of want to Scandinavian flick it to every single corner you come across. I don't know how it would do on dirt, but on tarmac, it is so much fun. This car makes me feel how I felt the very first time I drove a Subaru STI when they first came out in America in 2004. It's that all over again, that kind of excitement to drive this thing. I think the main reason why I like this car though is not what it has on paper, but how much character it has. That to me is more important about a vehicle than anything, and it's hard to find in new cars today. Just from the visual cues of looking at this thing with this big bulge on the hood and the two little vents, the sound of a 3-cylinder, the little whirls and ticks and growls that it's making from the weird firing order because it's a 3-cylinder. Not only can you hear the little hiss from the diverter valve, but every so often at higher RPM, at full throttle and letting off, you can hear a little bit of compressor surge also. The bite that it has coming out of a corner. This thing is so good. The auto climate control area right here reminds me of the Mitsubishi Evolutions, where the dash was just all business, no extra frills. My only real complaint, this is kind of a reach, but the new infotainment system menu for Lexus Toyota vehicles is just very business. It's no colorful graphics or weird fun stuff like Hyundai does. In case you want to see your VIN number, there's a little plastic cover you can remove and it's down on the frame. This right here is a lack of a back seat because the Morizo edition doesn't have one. It's a rear seat delete to save weight. Instead, you get this little bar right here, which gives you the perfect width to set an extra set of track wheels and tires to take with you. It feels like it would clean very easy if you put some dirty track tires on it. It's a little foam goodnight moon. Ah, that's not to tether your baby. It's a harness bar. Smart. Whoa! You can't put the rear windows down. They're fixed. I mean, it makes sense. There's no passengers back here, but they still get a cup holder? That's weird. Oh, weird. There's no rear wiper. It's deleted also. Save weight, I would imagine. Storage space-wise, though, because there's no back seat, there's tons of room. Oh, the carpet says GR Corolla. I like that. They also removed the tools, too, because those are heavy. You don't need them. There's the battery. Rear battery, also for better weight distribution. Even the foam says GR. Yep, there's just a little hollow indentation where the rear wiper motor would be. In addition to all those other weight savings measures, the biggest one is this forged dry carbon roof. It is so pretty, and I imagine very susceptible to sun fade, so you gotta take care of this car. My fingertips are saying it's light. I bet you could take it off and the wind would take it away. I'm gonna shut up. Okay, so I need you to be able to hear this. Ready? I'm gonna take off and I'm gonna short shift. Wide open throttle. It sounds like a big turbo 12 valve Cummins. It is so cool. I love the sound of this 3-cylinder turbo. I guess you could call this a slight downfall, but I don't think it's a fault at all. There is a lot of road noise in here on rough asphalt, but that's mainly to do with these really sticky tires that you can constantly hear picking up little rocks and throwing them into the wheel wells. Also, the fact that they're trying to keep weight down on this thing. Obviously, you don't want it loaded up with sound deadening. So again, it's not a fault. It's just some people might complain about it. I feel a lot of the complaints people will have about this is just because they're being a car snob. Big Cummins. Yeah, the Morizo edition is kind of expensive and people are going, ugh, you paid that much for a Corolla. But honestly, a car like this, because there's so few of them, and it's such a special car based on a homologated rally car that we never got here in America, I have a feeling these cars are gonna hold their value, if not appreciate. But the real question you all wanna know is it better than a Civic Type R? And the answer to that is, I don't feel you can compare these two cars. Yeah, they're similar price and they're both hatchbacks, but they serve different purposes. And it's just like being a fan of sushi and pizza. You can be a fan of two different foods, enjoy both foods, and not have to say one is better than the other. I'm really hungry. It is now time to give this thing some scores, starting with the coveted bean score, the assessment of the feeling you get in your gut when you give it the beans. And this Corolla GR4 Morizo gets a rating of... Next is Cookie Score, the assessment of value, and this one of 200 Morizo Edition GR4s at just over 50 grand gets a rating of... It's a hard one to assess, but I have a strong suspicion these things are going to shoot up in value. Next is the Wrench Score, the assessment of ease of maintenance, and it's getting a rating of... Next is the Squid Score, the assessment to handling, and it's getting a rating of... Lastly is the Penguin Score, the assessment on how much I personally like a vehicle, and to no surprise, this gets a rating of... I have never liked or wanted a car that I have done a review on this channel yet as much as I do this right here. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I will see you soon with another. Bye!